Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Nerdy, or whatever the hell this show is. I'm Amy, and here today I have my good friend Sarah. Sarah,
Hello.
say hi. Hi.
Hello, everybody.
If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you'll recognize her from some of the reviews I've done.
Oh man, do you remember movie theaters, Amy?
Jesus Christ. I have
Do you
a
remember
whole
movie
show that
theaters?
doesn't exist anymore.
That was a thing of the past.
It is. But it is a thing of the past. I mean, some people are still going, but I would not advise it, even as a film person.
So for those who are not listening in 2020, a movie theater used to be a building where multiple people would go and sit in the dark for 2 hours and watch the latest movie that was been released while they paid $200,000 for food.
Oh yeah,
That's all you're missing.
That's why video on demand movies are like $30 now, because they got to make up for all the popcorn and soda you're not buying. Anyway,
Movie theaters. Oh
if you
my
guys
goodness.
are wondering what today's subject is and you haven't read the title of the video, I brought Sarah in today because she is the only person I know personally that I thought could really do this subject justice. And the subject of today is shipping, and its effect on both media and the fandom culture itself.
And what Amy doesn't know is that I've actually never worked for UPS or FedEx, so I'm not going to actually be any help on this subject.
Pardon?
Shipping.
Oh!
Ship it like FedEx.
Jesus.
I've never worked for FedEx.
Oh, the
Sorry.
puns have started this early. We are not even... Yeah, we are exactly like 2 minutes into the video, and the puns have started.
This is actually what you brought me around for, was the puns.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. This is
So,
where
yeah,
our friendship
so-
started. Puns.
Puns and nerdiness is exactly what our friendship started on.
Yep. Sarah worked with me at the soon-to-be extinct ThinkGeek.
And for those listening not in 2020, ThinkGeek used to be a website that was not owned by GameStop and had not run into the ground yet by GameStop. That sold quality geeky products with a wonderful nerdy experience. And then they were bought by GameStop. So tell your children, never sell anything to GameStop.
Here's the thing. I'm not sure if GameStop's going to be around much longer. But that's another podcast.
Good. I'm sorry, that was my outside voice.
No problem. So yeah, there has been a lot of news around ships lately, like within the past month.
It has been. It did not happen in the last month. It has been physically the last month of ship news. The news has not stopped, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Oh, Jesus.
But it has been a month now, and it seems ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think the big conversation started around Destiel.
Yeah, Destiel or Destiel. There is a debate on that. I don't care. So don't at me on how to pronounce it.
I don't care either, but it was one of those things where I just heard about it. It was just one of those things where I was like, so they kind of gave people the ship, and then they immediately took it away, and then Etch-a-Sketch never happened. It sounds like what it was.
It's drama, and everybody loves drama.
Oh, yeah.
But it is drama. And what had happened was this one time on Supernatural, season 15, episode 18.
How fucking specific that was. Go ahead.
That used to be called The Truth and then got changed to Despair because the writers hate everyone that has kept the show on the channel for 10 additional years. What had happened was we were all sitting quietly on our Tumblrs and our Twitters and watching a show that was finally in its last stages of being active. And then suddenly an angel said, "I love you," and was venom gooped into super hell for being gay.
Yeah, see, I have not seen past... Well, I've seen past season 4, but I just kind of stopped watching after a while because I preferred the Monster of the Week setup. I thought that was fun. That's when it became more of a soap opera, when a lot of the biblical stuff started coming in. I lost interest. It's not that I didn't like the show anymore. It was one of those things that was like, when it came between watching that or watching The Great British Bake Off on Netflix, I just went for The Great British Bake Off.
See, food or queer baiting? I'm gonna go with food.
I'm gonna go with food.
I'm gonna go with food every time.
If your choices are queer
baiting and food,
if I'm gonna experience queer baiting, I'm going to watch Noel Fielding on Great British Bake Off.
No. Holy shit. Do you remember him on Nevermind the Buzzcocks?
Oh, I loved him. I loved him on Nevermind the Buzzcocks. I loved him on, oh god, what was that show? The Mighty Boosh.
For those of you not listening in 2020, there used to be a show in the early 2000s called Nevermind the Buzzcocks. And it was popular in the UK, but it really hit popularity because several Tumblr faves, like Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman, and David Tennant, and John Barrowman, all made appearances on it and said ridiculously inappropriate things that us teenagers on Tumblr were like, holy shit, this is hilarious, and gift the fuck out of them. It happens.
And Tumblr just seemed to be like a hub for shipping. I have not myself participated as much on that level of shipping because, you know, when I was a teenager, we didn't have Tumblr. We had like LiveJournal. So
Absolutely.
Apparently that's like the hub. Like that's where Super John Locke happened. Or I'm sorry, not Super, the John Locke conspiracy, and what was the like, Super Who Lock. There you go.
These are all cursed terms. If you say them, the Tumblr mafia will come find you. No, but we don't say that either because J.K. Rowling is awful.
No, she's a turf. Fuck her.
They are words like Homestuck and Tatalia and Super Hulock that should not be said, or the Tumblr mafia will come find you.
Oh, okay.
And I have said all three, so please check on me in the next 24 hours in case I go missing. But, yeah, so very similar to Dante's Circles of Hell, there are different levels of shipping.
Yeah.
And the kind of deepest pits of hell are on Tumblr. Because Tumblr became a mecca for people who liked to hate things that they did not see in the media that they were involved in.
And fair enough. That's a totally legit thing to do.
It was a place where people could put their fan arts. It was where people could share their fan fictions. It was places where people could role play their characters in doing things, and they didn't have to put it in a separate forum. They didn't have to put it on LiveJournal and then share it by email. They didn't have to, you know, I don't know how people did GIFs before Tumblr, but I know that they did them before Tumblr.
It was very complicated, and most of us didn't know how to do it. Like, that would be like people who built websites would know how to do it.
Exactly. And Tumblr became the place after MySpace kind of disappeared, where people could code they could create in ways that Facebook and Twitter didn't allow them to do. So the deepest pits of shipping hell are on Tumblr. And I was deeply involved in several of them. Not to the point of being a part of the John Locke conspiracy, but definitely being aware of it and making my own headcanons in that ship. And then we would also not ship shows necessarily, but combine shows and crossovers. So you would have things like Super Hulock, which took Supernatural, BBC's Sherlock, and Doctor Who, and created an alternative universe where all three of those universes were together, and those characters knew who each other were and worked together to fight crime or sleep together or whatever.
I mean, up to like, oh, you know what, sleeping together isn't that unusual either, except for the Doctor, because Doctor gives off a very asexual vibe for most of it. When he's not David Tennant, he puts off an asexual vibe.
Please do not Google 10th Doctor Master fanfiction, whatever you do. Thank you. But also do.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, one thing I wanted to get into is how it's seemingly these, how online fandoms and how online shipping, how that affects the media itself, because it seems like they definitely did that whole Destiel thing because there was so much buzz and so much people wanting it to happen so much. But they didn't want to alienate their straight fan base, so they did it and then immediately took it away. Is the
we're
gist
gonna get into it.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it.
So,
that's what this show is for.
Absolutely. No. I'm absolutely here for it. There's just 15 years of drama to unpack. And actually, it's more like 11 years. So, Supernatural started in 2005, starring two brothers, Dean and Sam Winchester. And it was Monster of the Week. And season 2, they started introducing angels and demons. And it was still very Monster of the Week. And there was still a little bit of plot, but not too much. In season 4, Dean dies. This is not unusual for either Winchester brother. They both die thousands of times.
Yeah, it seems like they have the same sort of like view on death as like Marvel has, where it's well, comic book wise, Marvel has, where it's like, yeah, he died, but just give it an issue or two.
Yeah, and they introduced a character named Destiel. Destiel is an angel of the Lord who pulled Dean physically from hell. In his words, gripped him tight and raised him from perdition.
I actually really like that line. That was the moment I decided, I like this Destiel.
Destiel has got away with words.
He's very Shakespearean.
Destiel has got away with words, even in English, though his base language is Enochian, and it's funnier in Enochian, but it's okay. In season 4, they introduced a character named Destiel. Destiel, the angel of the Lord, was supposed to be a 2 to 3 episode character. And that did not happen because of how Misha Collins, the actor who portrays him, chose to portray him, which originally was extremely asexual and extremely on the autistic spectrum, where things did not make sense to him because he's an angel of the Lord, and also just how he comprehends things.
Very well. That's kind of like a Hollywood autistic spectrum.
Exactly.
Where it's different from like real life. And I've noticed the longer Destiel interacts with these humans, the more traits he takes on from them. And he starts behaving a bit differently as time goes on because of that.
And he learns things and he grows as a character. And that would not have happened had the fans not spoken up en masse and quite literally demanded multiple petitions, talking to writers at conventions, etc., etc. I think there was even a letter writing program at one point to let them know, like, no, we really like this character, please keep him around.
Yeah. And I think at that point it wasn't as demanding as it would later become, because I know a lot of people got... there is a toxic side to shipping where it was like, no, if you don't do this, then... there's no reason. That is actually something that has been unfortunately committed by several key ships in the Supernatural fandom. The 3 main ones in the Supernatural fandom is Destiel, which is Dean and Destiel. I could see.
Which absolutely, to me, makes sense, not just because I ship it, but because I can see the chemistry between the two actors and how they're choosing to portray their characters.
There is subtext. There's about as much subtext as there was between Sherlock and Watson, I would say. There's about the same amount of subtext. Exactly. That nice queer-baiting line.
Just on the edge of more emotional than toxic masculinity lets you have you, but no homo, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then in season 7, I believe it was, so 3 seasons after Destiel had been introduced, he was written off the show again by a writer named Sierra Gamble. And this caused another fracture in the Supernatural fandom, because we, at that time, had become invested in the ship Destiel, and thought it was unfair to the actor, like we didn't know what was going on because everybody really loved this character and there seemed to be no logical reason why you would write a fan favorite off the show.
And it wasn't like Misha suddenly was on a different show or in a movie or was doing an acting project that would take him away from it.
Exactly. And he actually that year, I want to say it was 2011, 2012, seemed very upset, like there might have been some personal things going on, and that is not my purview to try to figure out what's going on in his personal life.
Yeah, that I do think there should be a separation between actors' personal lives and the show and the fandom, because that's unhealthy if not.
It made us curious as a fandom to be like, why did they write on the show? So another effort was made, far more demanding this time, to be like, no, we really like this character and he wants to do this, and like, what's going on? And so he was brought back to the show, remained on the show for the rest of the time, and then was suddenly gone 2 episodes before the show ended.
It sounds like the writers just didn't know what to do with this character at all, or like they had a clear way they could handle this character, but were too afraid to follow through with it. That's the gist I'm gleaning from it. Now, this is of course from someone who has not seen it, but from what I've heard, from all the little rumors around the production and stuff that I've heard, that the gist is that they had this character, the character that fans would not let them just let go. The story itself seems like he was an important factor in the story. I mean, representing an entire celestial area, you have important demons on the show. It bears witness that there would be an important angel as well.
And
that's
they
just
did
from a story
cycle through.
standpoint.
They did cycle through many angels during that time, but the one that had the most effect, specifically because of his stronger bond, or more profound bond, in his words, with the Winchesters, made it more reasonable that he would be the normal angel that was on the show versus any of the other ones that they brought.
Yeah, that just sounds like basic story writing. And then of course it comes down to the episode where he made his little confession, and I watched it, and I can tell that it was definitely filmed during COVID restrictions. It's very definitely two different. Yeah, there's 2 different performances, and I don't know if it was a directing issue or an acting issue, but it does feel there's a disconnect. Like, Misha is acting his heart out. And I know Dean is a more solemn, sturdy character, but you can usually see something
I will say,
behind his eyes, and this time I could not see as much going on.
As a disclaimer, if you only watch it the one time, you will have the reaction that the entire Tumblr fandom had on November 5th of 2020. Mm-hmm. And here's how it went down. November 3rd of 2020 was a very important election day in the United States.
It was. Holy shit. Yeah.
It was a very stressful time in the United States, where we have had a hell of a year for numerous reasons.
Oh, yeah.
So by November 5th of 2020, everybody was waiting for the results to come in. And suddenly, while we were all waiting for Nevada, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina to have the results in, there was an angel making a gay confession on live TV. And then who was immediately sent to turbo hell for being gay.
Specifically for his happy gay feeling. That's the part that gets me. Because he was finally at his happiest moment.
He made a bargain with a character called the... He made a bargain with the character called the Empty. Mm-hmm. In exchange for another character's life.
A character who I feel like they forgot after a while.
Jack is wonderful, and I will not hear any bad said about him.
This is, like I said, I have not seen the other seasons.
He is a precious toddler Nephilim, and we love him terribly.
Okay.
It's okay. He for some... haven't watched anything solidly since season 9. The only things I know about Jack are in the last 3 episodes, of Supernatural. But he is a precious Nephilim baby, and we love him very much.
So he hasn't gone the way of the third Winchester brother that everybody keeps forgetting exists?
Oh, you're talking about Adam.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets Adam. Adam. Poor Adam.
Poor Adam.
Poor Adam. No,
but yeah,
Jack,
so the election's going on.
Jack is the son of a human and Lucifer, I believe. So he's a Nephilim, because he's a child of a human and an angel. Not related, but that's who Castiel was giving up his life for. Okay. And the Empty told him when he had his true moment of happiness, they would come get him and take him for the bargain that they struck, basically. So, to my understanding, again, I have only seen the last 3 episodes of this series. Castiel doesn't tell anybody he's made this deal. And so
you think he would have mentioned it at some point and be like, hey guys, by the way.
He should have mentioned it to Dean before this happened.
Yeah,
because Dean might have been able to come up with something.
Right? Because he hasn't said anything. It's not like Dean can go, like, get him.
Yeah, no.
Because he doesn't know where he is.
He doesn't know where he is. He
doesn't know what that does explain a little bit why Dean looks so freaking confused at that moment. He's like,
He doesn't know, exactly. He doesn't know why Cass is saying goodbye. He doesn't, by the way, anybody who's listening, the correct abbreviation of Castiel's name is C-A-S, not C-A-S-S. If you spell it C-A-S-S, I will come find you. You're adding an extra
S, right?
You are. It's not Castiel, who is a different angel. It is Castiel with a T. So people abbreviating it with 2 S's are adding an S for no reason. Please stop doing it. Thank you, supernatural writers. Anyway. So Cass makes this beautifully heartfelt, full
I was tearing up. I was tearing up a little bit. I hadn't watched the show for years, and I was just watching this little clip, and Misha had me tearing up a little bit. I was like, oh my god, you poor thing.
The amount of love that I felt pouring out of Misha / Castiel was sickening, only because I felt so loved. Like, when somebody hugs you just a little bit too long and you love it because you haven't been held by somebody for so long, but you're also like, I might be a little bit claustrophobic because of all the love you're giving me, but it's a good kind of claustrophobic. I don't know how to explain it.
I think if you read it, like, he was not, like, Castiel is saying this to Dean, but it's also, I think it was Misha talking to the audience and the show itself and being like, this has been a wonderful experience for me.
We can get into that goodbye. If you really want to.
Yeah.
But that will open up another can of worms known as real RPF.
Oh.
We don't have to get into that, but we can if you want to.
Oh, I mean, we can. I have time. We have an hour, and we only have 2 more things I wanted to talk about. So, yeah.
Well, I won't get into that first because I want to finish talking about this confession.
Okay.
Because here's why I want you personally to go back and watch this scene a second time. And I want you to really look at Dean and remember that this is a man who his entire life has been bullied by his father
into dad's a dick.
Being a hunter. John Winchester is a horrible, horrible father.
Yeah, he's a dick. I don't like him.
He's abusive and biphobic, and I will get into it.
Okay.
But he's been abused by his father his whole life. Mm-hmm. He has never had a significant other that has loved him. I don't even think Sammy tells him he loves him very much. He does, but his brother is the only one who has really been open about loving him. So not only does he not know how to love, he doesn't know how to accept love. And so what you will see on Dean's face...
which has been shown in all of his relationships, actually. Even the one that got closest to normal...
Lisa.
Yeah, the het normal wifey with a family...
Even with that one, thank you.
Yeah, pour one out for Lisa. Even that one, that was as close to as perfect in his mind as it was going to get.
And just so everybody knows, Lisa was before Castiel. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so in this moment, we have this beautifully eloquent and sincere confession of love, and then immediately, and I'm talking within 5 seconds, he is vanished out of the universe and he's gone. And kudos to Venom for showing up for that.
He can't even react.
He just says goodbye, Dean, and then it's gone. And Dean has a beautiful, what I like to call a rom-com moment, where he puts his phone down, slides down the wall, puts his head in his hands, and cries. And we don't ever see that from a man on this show. And I just want to give a shout out to Jensen Ackles for giving us that crippling, broken-hearted moment on screen, even though we never got a return I love you. I just want to say
the only thing that was missing was a window with rain.
Yeah, and the bunker doesn't really have a lot of windows. Yeah. But you know what? I'm going to give it to him because there was an empty chair that was supposed to be where Cass was, and he was looking at it while he was crying, and I'm going to give him that.
Mm. Yeah.
But yeah, so then the next 2 episodes were horribly written. Were like season 1 all over again. Monster of the Week, which would be fine if they were filler episodes and not the last 2 episodes of your entire show.
Yeah.
And so what really got the fans up in arms was not only the lack of closure with Dean and Cass, but also the final episode being... These are spoilers, please. Understand these are spoilers.
All right, spoilers, people, spoilers.
Spoilers are coming for the end of Supernatural on the CW. In the last episode of Supernatural ever, Dean gets pushed back onto basically a rusty nail that goes through his spine and kills him on a monster hunt. After
Tetanus
this man has
literally
killed God, has survived numerous monster attacks.
I also heard that they were clown vampires. That clown vampires got him?
Yeah.
With a rusty nail?
With a worthless one-off reminder of a girl that they met back in season 1 for no reason whatsoever during COVID times. Thank you. Didn't make any sense. It was a flashback to literally somebody they met once who got turned into a vampire, and we were like, oh yeah, we know her. Why is she here?
Mm.
And then he has a 15 roughly minute monologue of saying goodbye to Sammy, in which he repeats a lot of what Destiel had said to him not 2 episodes before, but to his brother. And so that gave what fans had been seeing as this romantic, or at least loving confession, now between 2 brothers. And that brings to light the second and far more insidious ship of Supernatural called Wincest.
Yeah, I've heard about that one. I mean...
It's pretty self-explanatory if you know what incest is.
Oh, yeah. I mean... I could understand that, especially in the earlier seasons, if you're looking for a more gay relationship, but that's like the only thing you have, so you start shipping them. I mean, like, okay, fine, in your head it's harmless, but you can't. You just can't expect that to actually happen outside of the Lannisters.
I'm going to make a statement.
Okay.
Wincest sucks.
Okay.
And I don't care if anybody comes at me for it, it's fine. Because why? These are 2 brothers who should not be having sex.
It's
End
weird.
of story. Thank you.
It is weird. But I don't want to kink shame. But it is not my personal cup of tea.
We have all had our moments where we have opened an incestual fanfic online because that's what was our yum that night. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum on that. But when you harass actors...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, at that point it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate.
It is incredibly inappropriate. And makes them incredibly uncomfortable. This also goes, and I will say this personally, this goes for Destiel, which is a non-harmless gay ship.
Yeah,
don't harass the actors.
I don't think it should get to the point where you're harassing actors, writing staff, people who worked on the show over it. It's never that serious.
If you want to ask them about it respectfully, that is entirely different. But if your entire goal in going into a convention or going to a panel or going to an online video feed is to make writers or actors admit to a ship that has not been confirmed in canon, especially one that makes the actors uncomfortable when you mention it, don't do that.
That's just harassment is what that is. If you're going into a public space because you know, and I feel like this counts on Twitter as well, like if you're demanding people's stuff on Twitter, because that goes directly to the person. It's harassment and it's predatory and you shouldn't do it. You just shouldn't do it.
There is a caveat to that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Misha.
Yeah.
Because Misha has been fairly open about his appreciation for the ship Destiel. Not that he personally ships it, though many have believed that he does. for other reasons that may or may not become clear before the end of this.
Mm.
But he has never told people that it isn't a possibility or that Cass is not queer. And in fact, he has been very public about the fact that Castiel, especially after the confession, that Castiel's declaration of love to Dean was homosexual in nature.
Mm-hmm.
It was intended to be gay.
If we want to get technical, angels don't have gender.
And really, Castiel is just in a dude's body at the moment.
So,
but
it's just really one of those things like, angels are naturally non-binary entities, so they don't have the same binary idea of sexuality or love, or it's more of a pure form, I think. But even it's just it just makes sense that this angel would not see the fact that I'm in a dude's body and that person is a dude as like a negative factor.
Exactly. And frankly, you can make your arguments for Castiel being asexual. You can make your arguments for him being demisexual. You can make it for, I've even seen arguments that I'm not a huge fan of, but that I can appreciate for Dean and Cass being Dean and Cass sexual, or Dean and Cass romantic, where you can, because really sexuality and gender are a spectrum. We have evidence coming out of our ears that gender and orientation are both spectrums, and people can be on the far ends of that, where they are gay as a May parade, or they are as straight as a crowbar, and it doesn't matter. But there's all these people that fill in the spaces of that spectrum, that you may be entirely attracted to just cis women, but that one dude, you're into him, and that's okay, because that doesn't make you I'm
an example of
a liar
of that sort of thing. Like I am very much into women. I love women. I like to say I'm kind of gay with an exception, and the exception is my current partner, who is male. So we exist. There are people who are 99.9% of the time we are into one gender. And then that 1%, that one person just catches your attention, and you're like, "Well, no, there's my exception." So,
and that's perfectly okay for me. I am on the weird end of the spectrum, where I don't really care what people are, as long as they're good people, and as long as people treat me nicely. You can use whatever pronouns you want for me. Like, there are going to be words that I don't want to be called, like "Hey, girl." I'm not a girl. I'm a 30-year-old woman, if I'm anything. And right now I'm a woman out of spite, because the U.S. government sucks.
Yeah.
But, for me, I'm like, I am bisexual, which means I don't care what you have between your legs or what you don't have between your legs, because your gender isn't about your genitalia. Oh, yeah.
And when I say I'm into women, I include trans women in that. Like, because I include
women are women.
Women
J.K.
are women.
Rowling, I hope you're listening.
Trans women making that clear. Trans women are also on that spectrum for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, for Dean, who has been only with women on the show that we have seen, when in reality, if you go back and look at the show, there have been many men that he has flirted with.
You remember,
regardless
McDreamy?
of whether it was. Let's talk about his fascination with doctors.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about his kink for cowboys. Let's talk about the Jewish man that he absolutely would have gone on a date with in the Gollum episode, had they not gotten distracted.
He also spouts out a lot of queer-coded sayings. A lot.
He does.
And the observations he makes sometimes are very Hollywood queer-coded. So,
no straight man knows rent.
Oh, yes.
No straight man knows rent.
No,
I don't care who you are.
Man.
If you declare and you know anything about rent, you are not straight. I am so sorry that you're finding out this way. But yeah, and both he and Sam are very even femme-coded in a way.
A little bit, sometimes.
That has come across. And so for Dean, who has been seen mostly with women, he actually, if you watch, gives off very bisexual vibes in his mannerisms and in the way he talks, in the way he treats men and women and anything in between, like Cass. Like, it, for anybody to limit him because he's a dude, like, that is so toxic, and we don't need that in any fandom.
Oh, absolutely. Well, since we are on this ball, let me shift that ball just a little bit and bring up another ship that people really wanted to happen but did not. Finn and Poe.
Ooh, where is my guest star Oscar Isaac? Come on down!
Come on down! And speaking of actors who really wanted something to happen, but it just, I just wish... I wish Disney had the balls to do it, okay? They have all of these characters.
So does Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
So does John Boyega.
Yeah,
this is not something that they have been quiet about since their contracts came up. Thank you, both of you, for being spokespeople for the queer community wanting representation in our movies. We highly, highly respect you and appreciate you.
And I just wanted to bring them up to be like, and Destiel is not the only time this has happened. This has happened a lot.
They are not. They are not,
no.
And they are not even close to being the only ones, especially in the public eye.
Not even in the new Disney Marvel universe. You know who I mean.
We will get to it. We will get to it.
The reason I brought you on this show, we will get to it. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Finn and Poe, or as they're commonly known on Tumblr, Storm Pilot.
Oh, I love that
as
name.
well as they're not gay in the three-way OT3 Jedi Storm Pilot, starring Rey as the female in the threesome.
All right.
They have played actively a couple since they started in Force Awakens. Thank you. I could not think of what
that little shoulder bump. There was more chemistry in that little shoulder bump than I've seen in romantic comedies for years.
Every single eye glance, every single touch, every single hug, the way they talk to each other, their pet names for each other,
the giving
how
of
they
the
interact.
That's a specific
the giving of
thing.
The jacket, and
that is a thing you do with your boyfriend
looks at him when he
girlfriend.
sees him wearing the jacket. I mean, we could go on, and there have been many studies done. I will willingly send you any of them. But the biggest thing with Finn Poe is the fact that both the actors actively supported Finn Poe and wanted Finn Poe to canonically happen.
And every chat show they went on, they were like, well, that's how we're playing it.
Every single chat show, from Ellen to the cons that they went to
Graham Norton to...
everywhere
they went.
That interview was good stuff.
That was a good interview. They even had Carrie Fisher backing them up on that one.
They got asked for what is the horrible name? The Rise of Skywalker. Thank you.
Yeah.
For the Rise of Skywalker.
I still haven't seen that, by the way. I've had everything spoiled, but I did not have the excitement to watch it.
It's a worthy ending of a mediocre trilogy.
Okay.
And I fully understand why it was mediocre, and it was not the fault of the actors.
Oh, no.
So
I love these characters.
Just for the closure of the trilogy, I would watch it, but you will get angry in the last 15 minutes. And
everything's been spoiled for me.
Yeah.
So I know what happened. So it's just one of those things like...
Kyle Ron should have fallen off the Death Star, end of story. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's fine. But anyway, for Rise of Skywalker, they were getting asked what is the best relationship in the Star Wars franchise. And they were trying... Oh my god, sorry. It just reminded me how much I hate this other ship. They were asked about between Reylo, which is Rey and Kylo Ren, and Finn Poe.
They don't have anything in common. I don't get it.
Actor, except for J.J. Abrams. Every single person they interviewed said Finn Poe, except for J.J. Abrams. It was fabulous.
That's beautiful.
And I loved watching him get burned during an interview by every single member of the cast. It was wonderful. But yeah, they've all done various interviews, and now that their contracts are over, they have been very open about the fact that they will not go back and work for Disney because of how they were treated, specifically John Boyega and Oscar Isaac, as well as oh my god, what is her name? The actress who played Rose.
Oh,
Chen?
no, I love her.
Something Chen.
Something Chen.
Oh my God.
And you know what? This is not anti-Rose at all. I actually really loved Rose's character. I just wish that we could have had her as a female character without having this romantic subplot forced into her. And I think people would have loved her more.
Of the romantic connection. And it was very similar to another actress who was forced into a relationship not the actress, but her character was forced into her relationship, and she wasn't aware until she saw the final edit of the movie what they had done, and she was very upset about it, and I'm trying to remember who it was. But
it happens a lot, though.
It happens a lot. Women are forced into romantic situations both on screen and off screen that they don't want to be in, but because that sells, they're forced into those situations.
And you know what?
It's really sad.
Sometimes the only way you can get out of it, and this is one of the reasons why I liked getting typecast as villains when I was still acting, is because when I was a villain, I didn't have to worry about romantic subplots all the time, or having to be in a romance, or being, the sexy lamp. If I go up
because
for the villain
bad girls
role,
don't need love.
Exactly. So it's just, that's just a factor in Hollywood that I'm glad to see is starting. There is a toe in the door of going in a direction where maybe we don't have to have the romantic subplot every time. Like in Fury Road, there's no romantic subplots. That's actually literally them just leaving.
I would like Charlize Theron to step on me, and this will be on record. Thank you. She is.
If
anybody has not seen The Old Guard, I highly recommend it for all of your queer culture needs. Thank you.
I did watch it. I finally watched it, and I did.
By the way, Rose's actress's name is Kelly
Tran.
Kelly Tran.
Kelly Tran. Yes.
Yep.
We love Kelly Tran, and she also got some hate from FinPo shippers when that romantic thing was, and that was undeserved.
And
should
for
not have
the
been directed
record,
towards her.
The majority of FinPo strippers did...
FinPo strippers. I would be okay with that.
I would also be okay with that. I think Oscar Isaac would also be okay with that. He likes showing off his body. But the majority of the FinPo fandom rejected those people. The same way that the Destiel shippers that started giving the actors bad time about various things, they were also shunned from the fandom. They are not, while they do share a ship with us, they do not belong to the majority of the fandom, because we appreciate the actors and would never... I mean, she got bullied off of social media. She got bullied off of social media, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram.
You know what else? I think the fact that she is an Asian actress also was a factor in everybody.
She was a female. She was a person of color, and she was a female, and she got in between our gay ship, and those were all the reasons that she was getting hate for absolutely no reason.
Nothing. Her performance is actually quite good. Just because you disagree with the writing doesn't mean it's the actor's fault.
Exactly.
I mean, fuck. Laura Bailey got hate this year because of a similar incident on
Last of Us 2, I think?
The Last of Us 2. Which she won Best Actress for at the Game Awards.
Congratulations,
so
Laura.
She won, so fuck yeah. And we'll talk more about her later, because she and her husband Travis were in another hullabaloo this last week. But we'll get to that after, because I want you to be able to talk about your ship.
Oh no. My personal ship.
Your personal ship.
My personal ship. Oh no. How am I ever going to talk about Chewbacca and Han Solo in public? That's so much pressure. No, my actual ship are the characters from Captain America, Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes, commonly known as Stucky. And they have actually been a ship for a lot longer than people actually realize, because a lot of people believe that the reason that the ship became popular is because of the actors Sebastian Stan and Chris Evans.
I think it's been going since the 60s, since the comic books.
It's been going since Bucky was introduced as the Winter Soldier, and probably even a little bit before he fell off the train. It has been a ship. And the funny thing is some of the chemistry in the Captain America movies between Bucky and Steve is because the character of Bucky Barnes was also combined with another character in the comics who Steve had a almost fling with, named, it wasn't Arnie Hammer. I always want to say it's Arnie Hammer. That's not his actual name. But that character that you see in Captain America First Avenger as Bucky Barnes is actually a different character, because Bucky Barnes, when he was introduced in the comics, was a child and not appropriate for an adult to be sleeping with ever, by the way, if anybody is listening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Nobody shipped, or if they did ship, they weren't public about it, Steve and a child Bucky.
No.
They shipped another character who was then combined with the character of Bucky Barnes to create the Bucky Barnes that we know and love in the MCU. So, fun fact trivia for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
this was not a Batman-Robin situation.
This is not a Batman-Robin situation. This was, everybody was of age and consenting in this relationship. Yes. But yeah, so that ship did not happen and was... It was a mess. It was a mess. But we got 3 solid movies, and then a partial movie, and then a giant fuck you end movie for that ship.
And you know what it is? It's literally just because they had to do the easiest wrap up for Captain America because Chris was leaving, and because at this point, this era of the MCU is very Tony Stark based.
I have my own thoughts about that, but that'll be for another episode.
But yeah, the wrap
they did have to do they did a quick and easy wrap up for Captain America, but then they also hetero-baited him, and it was really, really sad because everybody involved deserved better. Yeah. Peggy deserved better, Steve deserved better, Bucky deserved better. The only one who got what he deserved was Sam, and Sam absolutely belongs in the Captain America chair. I will never take that from him because
absolutely. And who
I am
are
beyond
you stoked
excited
for Falcon
I've seen
and
the trailer
Soldier?
10 times.
You saw the trailer? I watched
so
it a lot too. It looks amazing. I'm excited for that, for WandaVision, for Loki. Have you seen
WandaVision and Loki look bananas.
Do you have any idea how much I screamed when they said TVA? When they said the time variant?
When they said TVA,
Jesus
I went
fucking Christ.
That shit.
Well,
also,
you know,
we
Deadpool
are officially
could make...
getting...
Yeah, Deadpool
We are officially getting Miss Marvel in the Captain Marvel 2.
Yes.
She's been cast. She's precious. We are getting Riri Ironheart. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
We are getting her.
Moon Knight.
We also got Moon Knight confirmed. We got Kong being introduced in Ant-Man 3.
Yep. Quantum.
So they and then we also have Tatiana Maslany cast as She-Hulk, which I am so stoked about because she was amazing in Orphan Black. Yeah, and now she'll be in my Marvel universe, which is super great.
And a lot of these characters that are being introduced are either some of them are potentially queer as well, so or on the spectrum. So that's a fun thought.
Also not related but sort of related because you said queer. Thor: Love and Thunder got its villain confirmed as Christian Bale.
Gore the God Butcher, which
which is
his story
is. I do not know his story. I'm going to be thrilled to see what Christian Bale brings to it because I'm really hoping he lets out a little bit of the American Psycho for this character.
He's going to need it because this is basically a character who spent their life praying to the gods, had their family die around them, and then witnessed 2 gods fighting in the distance. A symbiote was attached to one of them and the other one was in gold-plating armor, and the symbiote was losing and then saw Gore and reached out to him and was like, if you help me kill this god, I will help you get your vengeance.
So it's like a weird version of Venom?
Kind of. It's a symbiote, but it isn't the Venom symbiote. And I don't know how they'll handle it in this movie, if it will be a symbiote or it will just be powers or a weird god.
I will be fascinated to find out.
Look it up because his story is really sad. And it's one of those. It's another Disney. It's another Marvel villain where you look at him, you're like, I kind of see where I kind of see where you're coming from, but you're going about this the wrong way.
Oh, there's been a few of those.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that they are getting more interesting villains because when they started, their villains were not good.
No, but they've gotten better.
They have gotten better and more sympathetic, and I appreciate that because it allows you to sympathize without sympathizing with a Nazi. Like, I can look at a villain like Killmonger and understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to look at somebody like Red Skull and be like...
fuck. If you are in the Nazi party, I don't give a fuck what your backstory is.
I don't care. Sorry. Thanks. Also, I'm going to make a shout out to Nick Spencer. Please don't ever write for Marvel ever again. Thank you.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree with those sentiments, because Jesus Christ.
It was a disaster.
It was bad.
It was a disaster. Don't ever make a Holocaust victim a Nazi. What is wrong with you?
Seriously.
Anyway. Yeah, so Stucky is my ship. I have shipped them since... So I, unfortunately, am one of the people that started shipping them because of the movie, but then went back into the comics and, like, did my research and...
Found even more evidence for your ship.
And got more, more reasons for me to ship them. Still actually give a huge shout out to the acting talents of Sebastian Stan and Chris Evans. For even if it was a platonic ship, the relationship between Bucky Barnes and Steve Rogers is an ideal friendship for me because it's extremely special. You don't see that kind of actual closeness between men on screen very much. And to have that emotional breakdown on screen, whether you ship them romantically or platonically, is huge.
Yeah, it's a relationship that I'm glad made it to film, for sure. Exactly. Whether it was romantic or platonic, however you choose to interpret it. Because that's the other thing about art. It's up to interpretation. And until it's confirmed in canon, and not everything in canon is correct, that's why fan fiction exists. Yep.
Looking at you, Endgame, because that was a disaster.
I mean, it didn't bother me as much, but I understand. I understand where people who are more Captain America fans felt a little gypped.
It wasn't even just Captain America, but that will be a whole nother rant.
You know what? The next episode we do together, we'll talk about the MCU.
Okay, sounds good. Because I don't want to change the topic because I tend to do that.
No, it's fine. That's what this show is more of a conversation for a reason.
So Stucky has been my ship since the movies started coming out, and I have written fan fiction. I have role played them. I have made playlists for them. I have not talked to the men about them because I am poor, but I know people who have, and both men have been extremely gracious to the Stucky fandom, and not necessarily encouraged it, but they haven't said no, which is always where you kind of want to stay, or been indignant or offended. Like, neither of them have ever been that way about Stucky. Unfortunately, because of how talk show hosts do their shows these days, they've both been introduced to Stucky fan art from time to time, but they haven't been negative about it in any way, and have been extremely appreciative of the love that the fans show the characters, because they also care about the characters. Both of them have been very open about how much research and how much passion went into these characters for them, so that's really awesome.
Cool. I do want to wrap up our talks. Since you did your ship, I'll talk about my ship, and it'll bring us into a little show I like to call Critical Role. We both watched this show on and off, and my personal ship was WidowJest. That was my personal ship because I have a crush on Liam O'Brien. I think that's just where it came from.
Liam O'Brien is worthy of crushing on because he's a fabulous, fabulous human being with way too much talent for one person, if I may say so myself. Yeah. Please teach me your ways for writing an entire beautiful children's story in a single night, Liam.
Or coming up with this wonderful house that is stored within your character's head.
9-story. The beauty that he described is beyond.
And the way he tells it too. He's got a lot of I can tell he's a theater trained actor, that he's done Shakespeare, that he's done, because of the way he moves and the way he talks and speaks. Like,
he's also incredibly detail oriented, which I appreciate.
Absolutely. Like, I'm actually trying to take some of this into when I do my own show, Roll to Die. I'm trying to flavor. That's what we call it, flavor. When I cast a spell or when I throw my knives and stuff and flavor it in a way so that it kind of builds on the world a bit more. And he's a big part of that. He takes some of the pressure off of Matt when it comes to what his character's doing and, you know, how it's flavored and how attacks are done. But and it's purely because Caleb is so hopelessly head over heels for Jester.
Precisely. He is very much...
I just wanted it for him. I wanted it for him, but, you know, things did not go that way, and some people were upset. I was not one of them.
Some people were very upset, and unfortunately, in a show where you have so many characters who can be intershipped, you're going to have ship wars, which is a part of every single fandom. And unfortunately, what happened, was it last episode? No.
It was the episode before last.
Episode before last.
Yeah.
Really caught some people off guard in a bad way when it really should not have.
It really shouldn't have. And to be honest, okay, so my ship didn't sail, but a different ship, the one between Jester and Ford, whose actors are married in real life, and the actor Travis, who plays Ford, had said, I will never do romantic roleplay. I think it's weird. I'm not into it. It's not my thing. You guys go ahead, do what you're going to do, but it's not what I'm into. Has slowly, ever so slightly, flirted with his wife as his character. Just little bits here and there, like buying her ceramic unicorn. And then he finally made good on those feelings after not being able to protect the Jester. He has, and the moment I knew my ship was going to sink and that ship was going to sail, was when Jester's patron, who is a fae, was getting dragged off to some celestial prison of one or another. He actually, after Jester jumps on him to try and hold him down, he jumped too. That was when I was like, oh, that's love.
Yep.
So, yeah, sorry. I'm talking in circles now, but basically...
It's good. It's good. It's conversation for a reason.
Yeah. But yeah, Travis finally went through with the ship, and Jester's character's been into the Ford character, flirted since the very beginning, literally has fan fiction of them together in her bag. And people got upset, and I heard some people were upset that it wasn't Caleb, and some people weren't upset because there has been this relationship, my other ship, between Bo and Yasha that has been slowly building, and everybody's like, we're going to get it this week. They're going to kiss this week. They're going to do it this week. And I'm like, no, they're going to probably like string it out a bit longer, because the lesbian side of me knows that longing is like our favorite part of the romance.
Two sides to lesbian love. There's a longing and there's the U-Haul.
Yeah, so we're not quite to U-Haul yet.
We're not to U-Haul yet. They are still in the, she couldn't care about me. She only wrote me a poem.
Right. But, you know, Yasha did take one look at Boa's bedroom setup, looked at the mirror and was like, oh, what a wonderful place for us to fuck. So, I mean...
Thank you, Ashley, for that nice little tidbit. We
appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The nice part about D&D, though, I will say, is that it's constantly in progress. Mm-hmm. So your ship may not have sunk. And the biggest thing I try to remember with D&D specific ships is that it's still going. These characters are developing. It's not up to a writer. It is thoroughly up to the characters where things happen. Mm-hmm. I'm also of the opinion that polyamory is a lot more common in a D&D trope than it would be in a TV trope.
It's because they're basically, it's a D&D party is built for polyamory. It really is.
It's a polycule.
Yeah.
It's regardless of who's involved, it's built as a polycule, and that's just how
Whether or not it's completely romantic, you're all still like this family that needs each other for things, so...
And we even have our ace representative, Caduceus Clay, involved.
And I love that he made that clear.
Everybody.
I love that he made that clear.
Exactly. Taliesin was very completely like, No, he's ace. He has zero romantic interest whatsoever. So those people's ships, quote unquote, sank. When in reality, they really didn't. You can still be in a relationship with an ace person. It's just
you're just not going to be doing
sex isn't necessarily going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Or romantic feelings aren't necessarily going to be a part of it. It's just one of those things.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so I'm actually going to say that WidowJest probably still has an opportunity to happen in the same way that Boyasha could still happen, in which way that we could still get...
well, now I've shifted more into Essek, because I'm like, well, I want them to be happy,
Essek is so precious.
Essek is... I love Essek. The last message they got from him was like, you guys are in trouble, please let me know where you are and where I can come help. I mean, I have my responsibilities here, but I trust you guys, and I love you guys. Please let me know if you're in trouble and you need my help. I will be there. And I was like, that's character development.
They didn't know if they could trust Essek, and Essek didn't know if he could trust them.
Yeah.
And so this is progress.
This is definitely progress. So,
especially because he cares enough to be like, oh, you sound like I might be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Should I, come be with you and see if I can help him?
And honestly, they might need his help because Lucien's scary as fuck.
Lucien is hot as fuck. I mean, he's scary as fuck.
But he's scary.
I will be unreasonably attracted to the Bloodhunter Tiefling for the rest of my life, and it is all Talison's fault. It's fine.
Taliesin makes really sexy characters, whether it be Caduceus or Percy or...
And Caduceus is sexy in his own way.
Yeah.
Tea and cuddles is very sexy sometimes.
Plus, he's cuddly like a plushie.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a Furbolg. He made Furbolg sexy. That is a feat. Because if you look at how Furbolgs are drawn before Caduceus and how Furbolgs are drawn after Caduceus, there was definitely an upgrade.
I'm so glad that Furbolgs can now be considered sexy by the furry community.
Yeah.
It's an upgrade they desperately needed from foxes and rabbits.
Yeah.
But yeah, my personal ship is all of the Mighty Nine together, so I'm going to be happy with whoever ends up together. And as long as they keep making English cute little comments to each other and pushing each other in snowdrifts and reading stories to each other and taking care of each other, that's all I want for them.
Yeah, they are a family, and I love that for the Mighty Nine, and because they are all people who needed one.
They are the definition of the chosen family trope, and I am so here for it.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, to wrap this up a little bit, let's give our final thoughts on shipping as a whole. How do you feel about shipping as far as, its effect on the industry and what it means to you personally?
As far as the industry, I think that more of the industry should pay attention to shipping as a whole, because a lot of what comes out of the shipping community is queer folk trying to be seen in the media that they consume when the media that they consume does not show them in that media.
And if you are going to acknowledge and go through with putting some of this in, have the balls to go all in. Don't just kind of dip a toe. Don't just kind of give a little nod. Actually take that and give them the representation that people are desperate for. We're getting more now, but it would be nice to see it happen organically within the show. We shouldn't have to beg for it all the time.
We should not have to hassle writers, directors, producers, actors into giving us queer representation. And I don't want people to say I'm using that as a slur. I know that some people will say that as a slur. I unfortunately, or fortunately as it may be, identify as queer because it's more conducive to describing me than yeah, exactly.
Because I also describe myself as queer. It's a and if you do not like that word and you don't want me to use that word around you personally, I won't.
Exactly.
But it is part of how I identify myself.
Exactly. And so I want writers and directors and actors and everybody to start looking more seriously at that, because it's not so much a cry for help from the queer community, it's a cry for recognition.
Yes.
Where we appreciate doing our own work, but we'd really like not to have to do it for a while because the evidence is there. We aren't pulling this out of thin air.
Yes. And then what it means to you personally.
Personally, it is a way to kind of explore how I feel about other people. Not necessarily in people specifically, but how I want to relate to other people. Because I don't have a lot of experience necessarily in the relationship field. I have some.
I don't
but getting
either.
getting to explore relationships behind fictional characters is extremely therapeutic and helpful.
Yeah, it is a way of therapy, because I've found that I haven't written any shipping, but like we were talking about D&D earlier, D&D has been a great, especially in this past year, therapeutic device. And I could see it working the exact same way with you and your Wattpad open and typing away and playing out these scenarios in your head,
Yeah, and like I said, I did my time in role play. I did my time writing fan fiction. Like, I am published as far as it comes to that. But I also get to appreciate personally the creativity of so many people, and all of their input into the shipping fandoms. So maybe I don't know how I want Destiel in a coffee shop to work, but I know that, somebody else might. Or maybe I can't think of how a tattoo shop for Stucky might work, but Captain My Captain 1918 has already written 500 fics for that. So I can go and appreciate somebody else's writing and then give them a little bit of a kudos and be like, this was really nice. I enjoyed reading this. And then they benefit from it too. So it's this whole kind of lesser but no less important media that we get to consume that doesn't have all the toxicity of paid media.
Yeah.
Where I get to go and see these people that I care about in the exact situation that I want to see without having to deal with whether corporate it's homophobia or corporate oversight, basically, where the executives go, well, that won't sell in China, so we're going to cut that and put a woman where the man was.
Yeah.
And you're like, but why? Because it won't sell? We know it'll sell because this stuff goes ape shit online for free.
Yeah.
So what are you afraid of?
And when it comes to certain pieces of media, when it comes to Marvel, when it comes to Disney, that shit will sell. It will sell.
Exactly.
You're at the point now where you can pretty much do, and maybe not whatever you want, but you could do a lot.
Exactly. And you don't have to, it doesn't, and I wonder if this is why execs are so scary. We're not asking for queer sex scenes. We like them, but we know that not everybody wants to see sex on screen, including heterosex.
Yeah.
We just want to see ourselves on the screen being represented by people who look like us and not just being bullied in school or having the coming out story or dying, which is such a common trope for gays and queers on TV, is to die when
which
you're
is
happy.
left over
the
from
bury
the
your
Hays
gays
Code.
trope.
That's left over from the Hays Code. It's so old.
Exactly.
That was the only way you could be queer or queer-coded is if you died at the end for your sins of being gay. And it's something that has just stayed in film language for far longer than it needed to. So.
And there's a whole nother underling of the politics that are going into that and the various other sundry people who are involved. But the biggest thing for shipping is that we do it because the media that we enjoy doesn't do it. And if we were provided that by the media, we probably still do it, but it wouldn't be as popular because it would already be in the media that we're consuming anyway.
Or it would be as popular, but the sort of desperate need or the more toxic elements of shipping probably would lessen because there wouldn't be such a hole that needs filling.
Precisely.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end the show. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
All I want to say is give us the gays and you won't get hurt.
There you go.
That's my final word on the topic. Thank you so much for having me.
No, anytime. All right. Bye, guys. Next time, I guess you and I will speak on the MCU at some point. And maybe after we get some more information from Marvel about what the next little stuff will hold.
And stay safe.
Bye, guys.